This episode is brought to you by Walmart. New beauty is in bloom at Walmart, and it's all about springtime radiance. From Drybar, Tula Skincare, and hundreds more available online, Walmart has the premium brands you want and this season's on-trend products for flawless, glossy hair and hydrated skin. Big name beauty brands? Check. The things you love? Check. Find trending spring beauty and all you need to look and feel gorgeous at Walmart, on app and online.
The First Lady of New York Radio, Joan Hamburg. Entertaining and informative. Talk Radio 77 WABC.
Welcome, everyone, to the Joan Hamburg Show. And we need cheerful. And who can be more cheerful than the one and only Isaac Mizrahi, who is doing something amazing? The Cafe Carlyle, an absolutely major part of New York cabaret, of New York history. It's been closed, like so many things. But it is opening with Isaac coming in for 2 weeks, a brand new show called In Person, March 1st through March 12th. And I have been, whenever Isaac is at the Carlyle or major places, I go to see him. So this is really exciting. Guys, we haven't been most places in over 2 years. So tell me, Isaac, my dear, how did all this happen? You've been planning it for how long?
Well, goodness, I've been dreaming about it for, I don't know, like 2 years or something, right? And last year we did some virtual shows from the Carlyle, right, without an audience,
right? And
they were great, pay-per-view on Broadway World, etc. But this is what we all dream of, is like being in front of people in that room again, that room, which I don't know about you, but I worry about that room only because it's New York City, darling, and we have very few precious things left. And this is really one of them. And, and it's been out of commission now for really like about 2 years. So this is exciting for me, really exciting. And I have to say, Joan, it's emotional, I don't know how I'm going to make it through that night without kind of, cheering up a little bit or a lot, right?
Well, but we need you to do that because we're going to be the same way. And you've got great jazz group with you, too.
Oh, yes, the greatest, Ben Walter and his boy, Ben Walter and his guys are all there, 6 musicians altogether, and 7 including me, so.
That's right. And everyone who knows Isaac, well, now we know that Isaac is not only a designer, but he's an actor. He sings. He's a host. He dances. He did a great documentary years ago.
And I have dogs, by the way.
Yeah. Right. And he loves to eat. I don't mind the dog. What kind of dog do you have?
I have 2 dogs. I have one who is a genius and she never speaks, and the other one who's kind of a monster and he speaks a lot. So that's who you're hearing, Dean, and Kitty is the other one. But
well, I have Annabelle, who speaks constantly in a loud bark all the time. She wants to make sure that we hear her. But right. Isaac, you have worn so many hats that it's hard to believe. And I remember you telling me you were just a kid even. Well, your mother, I remember a story you once told me that your mother gave you a sewing machine, when you were 10 or something?
My dad there were sewing machines in the house because he was a manufacturer of children's clothes. And so there were loads of sewing machines in the basement, and he taught me how to sew. He finally I bought my own first sewing machine when I was about 12, which he advised me upon, and he taught me how to use. And then, as I got better and better, I adapted to, the amazing sewing machines that he had there in the house, like these fabulous kind of power machines, these very, very powerful machines, right?
Right,
but that's how I learned to sew. Yeah, that's how I learned how to sew. Yeah.
And you started making clothes then, right, as a kid?
I did. But before I did that, I did female impersonations, darling. And that was not exactly a source of pride in
Not in the neighborhood.
when I was 12. Yeah, exactly. It was not a source of pride. My parents would, and so I think that's why I subverted my desire to go into show business. I went into fashion because I thought it was just going to be, and I was right. I what I really needed was to sort of get out of that environment, because it really wasn't, this Orthodox Jewish environment, which it really wasn't a good place for me. And so, I was plotting my escape and plotting how I could make money enough to get an apartment and leave and get out of there. And the easiest thing, it seemed much easier for me to make money as a design assistant or whatever, a gopher. I had a million connections. In New York, it's all about the garment business, right? And everybody knows 15 people in the garment business. So I was right about that. It was I went to Parsons. I kind of got the best job that was offered in my class. I got this job for Perry Ellis. And darling, you remember what Perry Ellis was in 1980
when I
was working there. He was, and it was the greatest job. And I was so lucky. And he introduced me to all these people. And anyway, it led me down this trajectory. And I'm not bad at fashion. I'm good at it, but I'm better at singing. I'm telling you, I'm better at telling jokes. And I'm really excited that I'm kind of on this incredible, sort of quest to do more and more shows. I have a fabulous new booking agent. I'm really excited about what's going on in my life. It's forget about Act 2, darling. It's Act 1. I did Act 2 already. Act 2 was fashion. Now I'm doing Act 1. I mean it. This is true.
But that takes too a lot of courage. I mean, you started in fashion. You had trunk shows. Yeah. You did great. You were in major stores like Bergdorf's. And back in your head, you kept thinking, I'm a performer. I've got to be
When
heard.
am I going to do this? When am I doing this? When is this happening? And, and it's taking me a little while, just because I feel like, I'm not going to, I don't really, honestly, I think maybe people are a little slightly confused. They go, wait a minute, I'm going to hear this guy sing and tell jokes. How is that possible? But I think more and more people, now I swear to you, Joan, what's really exciting is I get more people stop me on the street and go, I saw your show and it was great. I saw it in Philly. I saw it in Princeton. I saw wherever it is on Play. I saw your show and it was great, as opposed to, I buy your clothes or something on QVC or whatever it is. That's also very thrilling, I have to tell you. But it's a little bit more meaningful now when people stop me on the street to tell me they've seen my show. The other day I was at the Candy Kitchen, our beloved Candy Kitchen here in Bridgehampton.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And this wonderful young woman came up and said, I was expecting to say, I just bought a T-shirt on QVC. She said, I saw you at Bay Street and you were hilarious, blah, blah. And I thought, how great. It just makes me feel so great that I'm actually making this kind of headway, I mean it. Act 1, darling, Act 1. Curtain going up on Act 1.
Well, you know what? It is amazing, because certainly fashion has huge appeal for so many people, but in your heart, as good as that is, and of course you're still doing it, and everyone still knows you as that, it's Isaac, the song and dance man, the entertainer,
I'm not kidding.
the actor.
It's a crazy
It's your
thing.
heart.
It's a crazy thing. It is. When I was a kid, I've been going to psychics my whole life, right? Literally. I started when I was.
We always love that.
Right? We did. We've always liked it. Perry Ellis introduced me to this wonderful psychic, and I've been going to her. I was going to her, and then I went to another one. Anyway, I had this fabulous tarot reading, and the final card that I picked was this kind of crazy, singing, dancing guy on stage. It was they were these cards. They were Mexican tarot cards, which is a little bit different from other decks. But this guy was on stage with a top hat and a cane, singing, right? And he said, darling, this is your fate. I don't know what you think you're doing on earth, but, until you get on stage and you do these songs and this is what you're going to do. And really, that stuck with me. And so many psychics have told me that. So I'm just kind of waiting for the payoff here. I'm just waiting, darling.
It's happening. It's happened, and it's continuing to evolve.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, right. Isaac, to keep up with you is a full-time job, because
I like it.
Who are you today? Where are you today? And by the way, Isaac has also done costumes for Broadway musicals. I mean, there is nothing that this man can't do except stop his dog from barking.
Exactly.
You name it.
And by the
he
way,
does it.
Can I just say something, darling? I'm going to tell you kind of like the best news of all, which is that I lost about 15 pounds, darling. Okay, like you know what this means to us because I mean we
were all in Weight Watchers
together. We go way back in Weight Watchers.
Right.
Yes, we were, my dear.
No secrets with us.
No, exactly. We're old buddies, the Weight Watchers buddies. But I lost 15 pounds. That is something, right? Like that is really.
Tell me how.
Okay, could I tell you how? I did Weight Watchers coupled with intermittent fasting, where you can't eat for 16 hours
that's a big deal.
Darling, I'm telling you, it works great. And then the other thing that I have to say, this is the best advice I can give anyone on a diet. Don't weigh yourself. Never weigh yourself. I weigh myself only when I go to the doctor. And
Every day.
Weigh yourself. Do not do it. It's not good because it's just discouraging for the most part. It's so slow and incremental. If you just stop weighing yourself, right? And then your clothes start to fit a little bit better, and then you start feeling better and you have more energy, and then all of a sudden you get on the scale like 6 months later and you lost 6 pounds and you're like, okay, I'll take 6 pounds, and then you get on the scale a year later and you lost 10 pounds, or a year and a half later, like in my case, I lost 15 pounds. It took me a year and a half, darling. And I'm still want to get back to a size 4. I'm not exactly. I'm not satisfied with. I think I'm about a 10 right now. I'm about a 10 or a 12.
But that's okay. Listen, I was telling someone who was asking. Well, but for most people, it's not boring. It's the way we all live. And she was talking about cleaning her closet. She said, do you get rid of stuff? I said, well, I have a secret closet where the clothes I wore in Barnet College go back a lifetime. I still have them because I'm waiting to fit into them. Now, that is never going to happen. But I look at them with great affection and say, don't worry, I'll be there someday.
Someday,
and
darling.
We all someday. I still remember Mandy Patinkin's wife, Catherine, at our Weight Watcher session. She didn't care. She's a great actress and writer. She didn't care who was in Weight Watcher, men, women, the people who were running one of the radio stations, and she would strip to her underwear before she got weighed. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes, I do remember that. I remember everything. I have a memory like an elephant, darling. You show me something, I will never forget it.
I know. It was so funny. She thought the jeans would add much too much weight to her.
She's right.
So tell me now,
right.
Of course, we're all nuts. Tell me about the Carlisle show. What are you doing? What can we expect?
I think, I'm going to do my best to kind of parse a little bit of what we're going through in the world right now, and, it's a very crazy time, and and you can't really say that much because you get canceled no matter what you say, right? So I'm going to try to parse through it. Politically correct is very, very difficult. And the thing is, I am going to try to parse through all of that. And the thing that's great about these shows that I do, whether it's at the Carlisle and it's 100 people or it's at, Princeton and it's 1,000 people or whatever it is, the thing is like in that, it's a safe space. It's like if you kind of come out, if you arrive in the right headspace, you're going to have a good show. And people know it's like out there, whatever's going on out there is going on. What goes on in here is like, it's like Vegas. It's sort of like a very sacred space, I think, with the audience. And I'm not exactly, it's funny, Joan, like, I don't think my strength, though I have a million monologues that I need to speak. And I have punchlines and jokes like any other comic out there. But I feel like what I do the best is kind of just talk. I'm very good at talking. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute cards on the table before the shows. And people are going to write questions on the back of the cards. I'm going to collect them. and I'll look at the cards. I'll look at them on stage. I'll organize them a little bit. I'll see, because I feel like that, leaving it open like that, leaving it kind of amorphous and the ability for me to just kind of address a question, rather than, raise the lights and point at people and, oh, no. Audience participation, no. But a question that came 20 minutes ago from an audience member written on a card, I'm really excited about that. That's going to be a fun thing, I think,
I'm talking to Isaac Mizrahi. He's going to be back at the Cafe Carlisle. They are opening, and his new show in person, March 1st through the 12th. So doing something like this, which you truly love and are so good at, are you still looking for change in your life, or does this satisfy you?
It's such a good question. Boy, that's why you're Joan Hamburg, because you ask such good questions, and I mean that. I'm going to say this, which is, I don't know what this sounds like, but I feel like, every day I look for something different. Every single day, Joan. I mean that. And of course, and by the way, and I love my creature comforts. I love my dogs. I love cooking. I love, I don't know what, my chair. I have this wonderful chair that I wish for in Bridge Hudson. And it's so great. It's like you can read in this chair, you can watch it. It's the best thing. And I love those things. But unless something new happens, right, I think like creativity is everything. Expression is everything in my life. And the minute that goes, then I'm finished, But for the moment, that's all I look for is newness, That's my motto. My personal motto is never boring, never bored. Like that's what I say to myself, like literally every day. Never boring, never bored,
But even, Isaac, during the pandemic, when you, who are Mr. Congeniality and bigger than life, how did you deal with that?
One thing, I have to say, I had a million Zoom. I had like regular cocktails with like several different friends.
Smart.
My friend
right.
Mark Morris and a few dancers, and I had a regular Thursday. And then I had a regular with Robert Couturier on Tuesdays and Cecile and all these friends. We had regular cocktails on Zoom. That's one way. The other thing is, I was bike riding every single day, even in the freezing cold. Like I have these heated gloves and these heated socks. Darling, I went bike riding this morning in Bridgehampton for an hour. I do that every single day in the freezing cold, in the boiling hot. I don't care what happens. But that's an important thing to stay active. You have to keep moving, darling.
Keep your head going.
Keep moving.
All right, so Isaac goes out on his bicycle, which I want to hear about in the freezing cold, Zooms with friends, and cooks and lives a life. So you bike like even today. As we're talking, it's cold and nasty.
But except the thing is, it keeps your mind moving, it keeps you moving. And that's really, really important. And like everybody else during these past 2 years, I felt confusion and despair and dread, and you have to do whatever it takes to get through that. And I mean it. It's like, people drink and they take pills. And by the way, I do plenty of that, I love a good cocktail. I love a Xanax, darling. Sometimes you just need those things. And that's fine. Nobody judges anybody. Everybody does whatever they have to do. And so, but like I was going to say, like the rest of the world, I think, it's sink or swim, my dear. You either find stuff or you're going to sink, and that's not a good thing. And the further you let that go, the harder it is to get back, And I know that from personal experience because I was really depressed as a kid. I had a really rough childhood. I was very depressed.
Well, when you live in a tight community and you don't conform to what people think one should be, it's tough for kids.
Yes.
And you really
absolutely.
lived through a hard time. You had loving people around you, but they didn't get who you were.
No. And it was lucky that I had those people around me and that I was born and that I was taught, to kind of trust my own inner feelings because that's what if you trust that you're going to be okay eventually, I'm not kidding. And then, when I was a teenager, when I was 20 years old, I moved out of the house and everything just changed in my life. When I was 13, I went to performing arts high school. That really changed my life. That changed the whole trajectory of my life. It showed me that it was, that it was possible to find like-minded people who loved theater and the arts, etc. And, I think that's the most important thing to me. Arts education, art for young people, like that is what is going to save so many people, I don't know why. Somehow, like, art is not as important as, like, gym or sports or something like that, and it needs to be, because there are as many artists as there are athletes, and I feel like we have to cultivate them,
And what's important too, that you got into this school where you fit in and where you belonged and you felt
Yes.
like-minded souls. But kids who are different, who don't have that opportunity, they have a
know.
really tough time getting through high
so
school.
dangerous. I
And
know, darling.
it's dangerous
so
for
scary.
children.
Yes, it is. It is. I mean, God knows what would have happened to me, and I really mean that, if I had not been fortunate enough to find that school. I don't know what would have happened to me. I don't know what would have happened. I think about it all the time, but I'm lucky, just the luckiest, right? The
Well,
luckiest.
and you had a lot of talent too, and you
Oh,
had
thank you.
enough belief in your own ability to make it. When a lot
Wow.
of kids would have just been so depressed and gone another way, you didn't. And I'm always amazed by the kind of inner strength that took, because who's more vulnerable than a teenager
Well,
who
you
doesn't
said it,
feel he
darling.
or
You
she
said it.
belongs?
You
So-
said it, dear. You really said that. You said a mouthful. That is the truth.
But you did it, and you continue
it.
to do it.
And
Right, and
yes,
you're
exactly.
evolving
Mhm.
constantly, which
Absolutely.
is fantastic. You
Mhm.
understand what change is all about, and you're not afraid now. Even if you are, you go for it.
Right. This is the thing about it, Joan. Like, that's what I always say about my life. My life, like, it showed me optimism. It taught me optimism, from whence I came. And then just the fates took me to performing arts, and they were like, hey, be optimistic because something good is coming, right? And then I went from there into fashion, and everything just, it's like this kind of, you pull yourself forward. You pull yourself forward because of optimism. And I feel like that's what's dangerous with kids. You kind of want them to know that it's going to get better. You need them to understand that, because I worry so much about the kids that don't get into performing arts high school or something, or that
Right.
don't find calling, that's what I worry about.
Well, we're lucky that we have you, and you can go to the Carlisle and celebrate a return to a normal life, to laugh, to feel happy, and to see this brand new show called In Person. Isaac Mizrahi, all the best to you. I'll see you very
I love
soon.
you, Joan.
Take
Okay,
care, darling.
Mwah.
All the
right,
best.
honey.
I'm Joan Hamburg, and you're listening to WABC. There's much more to come.